So here we are now with one of the next jobs we carried out on the farm. As you can see, this hawthorn hedge in places is looking really tattery. Cattle have walked over the top of the stone wall, tramped the sheep wire into the ground. So it's now coming up to the end of February. We're not allowed to cut trees from the end of February onwards, so in the next week this is one of the jobs has to be done. I'll walk you down along the fence here. As you can see, there's actually some nice straight hawthorns in this hedge. I might actually leave those. I don't really want to use them as fence posts. I think that's a bad way of doing your fencing, but that's the way it was done in years gone by. We come down here, the quality of the hedge begins to look, well, it declines as we go down the field here. There's more gaps in the hedge. The hawthorns really aren't as good a standard. If you could take a closer look here, the previous owners of this farm probably cut this hawthorn off at post height years ago. As you can see, it's sprouted up. I think the idea this time, I'm going to coppice the hedge, cut it down as low as I can and allow it to sprout up nice and thick now in the springtime. As we go down here, as I say, the hawthorns are getting tattery looking. We have a huge hole here in the hedge where the cattle have walked over the top of the wire and the stone ditch, and as you can see, it's an absolute mess. So this will all be cut down as far as I can get it with the chainsaw, and hopefully I'll re-fence it again, and it'll certainly improve the look of it. I might actually have to dig out some of those stones and maybe plant in a few hawthorn plants along the way to thicken up the hedge. There's nothing as good as a good hawthorn hedge for shelter, and of course it's brilliant for wildlife, so kills two birds with one stone. Down here again we see the hedge is looking pretty bad, so I think I'll certainly have to remove this barbed wire on this side of the fence, because the previous owners of the farm, as you can see, used the hawthorn bushes as fence posts. So the staples and the wires probably dug into the tree at the minute, which will be a dirty old job to get the wire away day one. So that's usually the case with a lot of things in farming. It's the actual preparation of getting the thing done first of all, so you can actually start doing the job that you want to do. So we'll look up here. These hawthorn bushes is probably 20 foot high, and what happens hawthorn as they grow up straight, and being a very hard wood as they are, there's not much flexibility on them, and there comes a strong wind and the whole thing just topples over. So although it sounds pretty severe to be thinking about cutting off hawthorns down to stump, it actually prolongs the life of the hedge and prolongs the life of the plant itself. And as I said, a nice thick hedge growing up is actually more beneficial for wildlife and for shelter than the current state that you see the hedge in at the minute. So that there was just a very quick look along this section. As I say, the section of hedge isn't very big, but it's just the amount of time it's going to take to remove the fence, which is, as I say, stapled into a lot of the hawthorns. That'll take more time than a lot of the cutting will take. So I'll go now, I'll make a start, and we'll show some clips along the way of how the work's going, and of course show you what it looks like in the end. So see you in a while. So just to let people see, I've made quite a good start. It's been a lovely day. The rain's held off. As you can see, the sun's about to set. You always imagine when you start these jobs it'll be quite simple, you'll get through it quicker than what you actually do. And I'll show you just what we've got done here. As you can see, I cut the hawthorns down as close to the base as possible. I didn't want to go down too deep because they're growing through a stone wall. And as everybody knows that ever use a chainsaw, once you cut a stone, the sharpness of your chain just goes immediately, and sometimes it actually ruins your chain. So I was being careful, thankfully. Didn't hit any wire, didn't hit any stones. Some decent sized stumps here. My trusty McCulloch chainsaw, which bought on eBay maybe 3 years ago for €149. Hasn't let me down since. And we go down here, as I say, there's parts of the stone wall here will have to be rebuilt, and in a few places where the hawthorns have died out, I'll stitch in some new plants and thicken the hedge up a bit. So that's, you may say, a tiny bit done. As you can see over here in the field, the hawthorns, the tops of the hawthorns were trimmed and have them in piles. Here we have our firewood. Now, as anybody that's cut hawthorn in the past, hawthorn is a very heavy, tight grained, hard timber, and when it's seasoned, some people say it's on a par with coal. And so far in this country you're still allowed to use a wood burning stove, although a couple of weeks ago I actually saw an English professor on Channel 4, and he wanted to make the use of wood burning stones or stoves illegal in Britain. So he might be a professor, but I'd say the man hadn't much common sense at the back of it. So as you can see, this field here we call a tramped. Many people in different parts of the country or the world call it poached. We outwintered cattle here. This field hopefully will be ploughed in the springtime again. And this just gives you a look of what this hedge looks like now. It's just a good start was made. And come back here tomorrow, do another bit, and hopefully 2 or 3 starts we'll have the hedge done. So thanks for watching, folks, and all the best.